because immigration crackdowns have scared off much of the workforce. In
How it started. During the election, they were told they were won, but they still voted for Trump. And see what happened next.
because immigration crackdowns have scared off much of the workforce. In some areas, harvest crews have dropped from 30 workers to just 5. That means fruit is sitting unpicked, and experts warn this could lead to higher food prices. California agriculture relies on over 55,000 migrant workers. So, what happens if labor shortages continue? Will this lead to higher prices? Let me know your thoughts below and follow for updates.
The U.S. government knows that we are facing a job shortage crisis. How do I know that they know? Because they just increased the number of H-2B recipients for fiscal year 2024 and added an additional 64,000 visas to the already 66,000 visas allowed for this visa work category. The H-2B is a temporary seasonal worker program. It's mostly used in the hospitality industry, the construction industry, landscaping, seafood transportation. All of these niches of temporary seasonal employment are typically filled by foreign nationals. U.S. government has identified that because we are facing a job shortage in these seasonal occupations, we have increased the number of people that are eligible to even get this visa. So they are allowing employers to file for more applicants to fill these job shortage occupations.
Texas is now reporting that 28% of the farm workers are not showing up for fear of deportation. How those eggs?
Well, already the crops are rotting in the fields in California. In Kern County, California, the largest agricultural county in the largest agricultural state in the country, immigrants are terrified to go to work since a series of Border Patrol raids have been going around and rounding up anyone even remotely suspected of being a farm worker, meaning anyone who looks Hispanic. By the way, in a county that is 56% Hispanic. This is the county that grows all of our fruits, all of our grapes for wine, nuts, almonds for almond milk, you name it. And there is no one to work the fields, and immigrants are now staying home, leaving the fields to go untended. If you thought food was too expensive, wait until you realize who grows our food. What on earth is wrong with Republicans? They're saying that 75% of immigrants have been staying home since these raids, terrified to go to work growing the food that we eat. Please share your thoughts and don't forget to follow me on YouTube. Of farm workers in the United States today do not have green cards and are working illegally. More than 50% of the farm workers in New York State are working illegally. United States farms contribute over $1 trillion to the U.S. economy. You want to know the fastest way to a recession and everybody eating canned tuna and Chips Ahoy cookies? Deport all the undocumented immigrants, including half the farm workers in the United States.
Why don't you see if you can get a stress leave of absence? I'm like, oh, what? She said, you seem guys of the medical. You know something that's really fucked up about America? I'm 39 years old. I am a healthcare worker. I'm a respiratory therapist. I've been a respiratory therapist for, almost 15 years. And I'm a mom of 5. I've been with my current employer for 5 months, even though I have a long established work history. And my oldest son was recently diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he's 18. I've spent the last 2 weeks inpatient with him at the University of Michigan Mount Children's Hospital. He has a 10-centimeter mediastinal mass. He had a 1-liter pericardial effusion. That's fluid that had built up around his heart from the inflammation caused by the cancer that he had to have drained. He had multiple panic attacks while in the hospital due to different procedures. And we were supposed to have his graduation party tomorrow, July 13th, and instead I brought him home yesterday to recover from his first chemo, and he has to go back weekly either for labs and blood transfusions or for his bi-weekly chemo sessions. My husband is like a part-time contractor. He was partly disabled through COVID, But good luck getting that covered with disability because long COVID barely exists in the eyes of the medical establishment. And so instead, he's become like the stay-at-home dad, and I'm working full-time. When I informed my employer of the situation and did some research, I found out I don't qualify for FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, because I haven't been with my employer for a year. So I searched through my employee handbook to see, well, do I qualify for any other kind of medical leave to, number one, secure my job, which has the income and insurance my family needs, since I'm the primary income earner. And I saw that they did, that they have an 8-week leave that they grant employees who don't qualify yet for FMLA. Wonderful. They've been a wonderful company to me so far. When I submit that to HR, I get a response that I don't qualify for medical leave because it doesn't affect me personally. The medical leave they offer is only for you, not for you to care for a family member. And so after sending them a response that's basically, I don't know how I'm supposed to return to work after my PTO runs out, which was only, I had just under 2 weeks because I had taken a day, the day that my son was admitted to the hospital. We were at his college orientation when we got the ultrasound results back that he had a mass. It was extended up to behind his thyroid, and he admitted to me that he was having chest pain and other symptoms that he had been basically hiding from me, and we went directly to the ER. So never called out. I've been an exceptional employee, but hey, because my government does not provide for a more comprehensive FMLA that absolutely should not only apply to people who have been at their employer for a year, that absolutely should be covered, because I already knew that anything beyond my PTO would be out of my pocket, so I had to start a GoFundMe because I thought, okay, how in reality am I going to pay for everything and continue my income and also take care of him? These are the things that working class American families have to figure out on their own, have to give up all their dignity and beg for money on GoFundMe just so that we can keep a roof over our heads and food on our table. And I can already feel like the welfare rat boomer hater people saying, oh, well, you should have had a plan in place. You should have had this. You should have had savings. I know, but I live in this world right now. I live in this post-COVID world. COVID tore our world apart. COVID likely caused his cancer. Let's be real. Epstein-Barr is a common virus that unlocks epigenetically Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'm sure one day, probably not too far from now, they'll find out that COVID does the same. But the lovely social workers at Mount Children's Hospital said, listen, you said that you have short-term disability coverage through your employer. Why don't you see if you can get a stress leave of absence? I'm like, oh, what? She said, you seem pretty stressed out. I said, that's the understatement of the century. She said, talk to your primary care provider, your therapist. I have time to go to a therapist. I work full time and I have 5 kids. Oh my God. So today, the first day, fully home out of the hospital, I had a video visit with my doctor, who wouldn't clear me for more than 3 weeks. She's kind of a hard ass, and she was like, I told you to get established with a therapist because you have anxiety. I said, I'm going to just level with you, doc. I wanted to, but the only place that I could find locally that was accepting new patients requires 6 weeks of outpatient therapy before you can see their psychiatrist, and I've been on a wait list for months. It doesn't matter which way you turn. It is so hard to get the help and the care that you need, no matter how hardworking you are. I am so incredibly hardworking and always have been. But this is what I'm up against. I now have to face the fact that I'm going to have to go back to work before I'm ready. I'm going to be expected to give the same that I gave before this whole ordeal began. I'm going to have to take a day off a week to take my son for treatment that's going to be unpaid. Where is the support system? Where is the safety net? Our politicians take all the money and they leave us here scrounging, barely above, just with our nose just above the water.
Mass deportations have sent fears to the Central Valley, where migrant farm workers aren't showing up to work. The California Farm Bureau says the industry's slower and are ready to head home after lunch. Some even quit after just one day out in the field. And farmers say many Americans are not physically fit and simply don't work fast enough. Many of our local farmers are dependent on immigrant labor to pick their crops every day. And that's the produce you and I are buying in the grocery store. But many of the men I spoke with agree that immigrants need to be legalized in some form or fashion. Several of the farmers I spoke with today off camera say the inconsistency of the immigration law is already hitting their business. They told me workers are simply moving to states who do not have immigration laws, and they say that could jeopardize farming.
I can take my salary away, but I work for the public good.
15 minutes. That's how much time laid off USAID workers here in Washington were given today to clear out their desks. That even applies to workers who've been with the agency for years.
I was dreading coming here this morning, and when I first arrived, I just burst into tears. But it's helpful. Someone's giving me water. I forgot my water and snacks.
Crowds of supporters gathered outside the headquarters today to show their solidarity with the workers.
People have been given 15 minutes to collect their belongings and go home. The mood is sad. People don't understand why. They've been trusted public servants for decades, and all of a sudden they're no longer trusted employees.
More than 5,600 USAID workers have either been laid off or placed on leave around the globe, although it's unclear how many of those work here at the Washington headquarters.
This is Juju, and today I'd like to talk about farm workers. So here I'm in Watsonville on my way to Soledad Prison to do empathy in action, and you can see in the distance here the farm workers hard at work here in the field. I guess I can't get that, but I just want to talk about the support, the way that the media and certain people in our government are talking about immigrants, and particularly from Mexico, Hispanic immigrants, and these are some of the most hard-working people. This is back-breaking work. I've gone to a farm workers tour. There's a wonderful nonprofit called Farm Workers Family. Farm worker families, and I've gone on one of their farm workers tours and seen what it's like to have to try to pick strawberries, the conditions that they live in. Our immigration system is broken, absolutely, but we need to give this, because right now these people are working under slave conditions, always afraid to that they're the threat of being undocumented in this country. And so this is the agricultural area, and everyone is like, if you want to try deporting people, who do you think is going to come out here and do this back-breaking work? So I just want to say how important immigrants and farm workers are certainly to this area of California, and I send them my love and respect. And again, check out the Center for Farm Workers Family. It's a wonderful organization. So this is Juju, unscripted, unedited, unfiltered, coming from the fields of Watsonville, and lead with love.
They say karma is a bitch, and for the Latin Americans, those who are here in America illegally are finding out karma is indeed a bitch. Right now, they are crying, they are begging, they are saying they need help. They want people to go outside there and campaign and demonstrate with them, join hands, so that you can raise their voices, so that they can be heard by the government, so that they can stop this deportation, because most of their families or close friends or colleagues or someone they know is here in America illegally, and they're trying really hard to make sure that they stay in America because they have invested time, money, in America, where they have family, where they have done businesses, where they have jobs, and the idea of being deported back to Mexico or back to the countries where they originated from and starting from scratch is literally heartbreaking. So right now they are complaining, they are raising their voice and say they need help from Black Americans, they need help from other minorities, where they can do demonstrations and tell the government to stop this deportation. But the reality is the President of America has already said that during the campaign that he's going to deport illegal immigrants. That's what he said during his campaign, and that's what he's literally doing after being elected as the President of America. And already he has signed the bill whereby ICE members are allowed to deport people who are based in America illegally. And unfortunately, the numbers are so huge when it comes to the Latin Americans, because majority of them some have come in America legally and others have come to America illegally. And unfortunately, for those who came through the back doors, those are the ones who are going to be affected. Majority of people right now, they're asking, why did you vote for him? Why did you vote for him? Yet you were warned, yet you were told that this person has the policy where he's going to take your people back away from America. Yes, and some people are asking this question because they are trying to scratch their head and figuring out, like, why did you vote against yourself? Why did you go against your people? Why did you go against maybe your family member who is in America illegally? Why did you vote against that? Didn't you read the policy? Didn't you listen to the TV? Did you listen to people who are knocking on your doors telling you why you should vote for Kamala Harris and not Donald Trump? Didn't you believe what they were telling you? And now, unfortunately, the results are in. You voted for someone who has literally put down policies where he's saying that ICE have a right to come into your house, search into your people, search people inside your house and find out whether they have papers or not. If you don't have papers, then you're being taken away from that family. And who are you going to blame? Who is to blame for this? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame the Black Americans? Are you going to blame the Korean Americans? Are you going to blame the Chinese Americans? Are you going to blame the whites? Are you going to blame the Nigerians Americans, the African Americans? Who are you going to blame? The blame lies squarely at you. Every time you want to open your mouth and say, oh, we were lied to, oh, I didn't know what I voted, oh no, the person who you need to blame is yourself, because you did not do enough research. You did not believe what people were telling you. You did not believe what Democrats have already said they were going to do, and in the process you ended up believing Donald Trump, and yet he claimed to the whole world loudly that he will remove illegal immigrants in America the minute he becomes the president of America, and yet you still voted for him. So the blame lies squarely at your doorstep. So don't cry, don't blame anybody, blame yourself. Look around you in the community of Latinos. Look around yourself and ask, where did we go wrong, and what do we need to do exactly, to improve, to do better next time? What exactly do you guys need to do? You need to be asking those questions, because come the next 4 years, if you're not careful, you are going to do the same mistake over and over and over. And remember, karma is a bitch. No one is coming to save you unless you save yourself.